Hi everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to be going through the bones of the Axial Skeleton II, which are the bones of the neck and trunk. And if you print out your lab practical list number 2, we're just going to go straight down the list and go through all the bones. The first one on there you actually can't see on your mini skeleton. They're just too small and we don't have them. However, it is a U-shaped bone, so it sort of looks like this, and it's right under the mandible here. And it's actually a bone in your neck that it doesn't articulate, which means move against or push up next to any other bone from the skeleton. So it's the only bone in your body that doesn't touch any other bone. And it is very small and thin. And when, if somebody gets strangled, like this, it tends to break. And so anytime somebody has a broken hyoid, that medical examiner suspects foul play. So there is the vertebrae, and there's another video on vertebrae that you can watch for that. So I'm not going to go through it here, but I will show you, if you look at the back of your mini skeleton, the 4 regions. We have the cervical region. Remember, we have 7 bones in the cervical region. We have the thoracic region, which is here. Those all articulate with one of the ribs, one of the sets of the ribs. And there's 12 of those. There's the lumbar region, and that's this sort of lower back curved area. And then the sacrum is at the bottom, and it's the sort of 4 to 5 fused vertebrae. At the very end of the sacrum is the coccyx bone. So you have all of those areas. The first 2 vertebrae are called atlas and axis, and they have a really specialized function in that atlas is the one that articulates with the bottom of the skull, with the occipital condyles on the skull. And that allows this skull to move back and forth because it slides back and forth. There's facets on atlas, so they sort of look like this. And the condyles, which go right in those facets, can sort of slide back and forth. So that's atlas at the very top and axis just below it. There's also a dens on axis that sticks up. It's like a finger that sticks up, and atlas can pivot around that dens. On the front of the skeleton, we have the sternum. The sternum is this piece of bone right here. It's sort of the front, your breastplate. It's in between where all the ribs come in and articulate. So it kind of looks, when you're looking at it, it kind of looks like a bow tie. This part at the top, which would be the knot of the bow tie, is actually called the manubrium. And on the manubrium, there's this little divot, and you can feel it on your own body right here. That's called the suprasternal notch. Supra means above. Sternal is the sternum. So this is the above the sternum notch, the suprasternal notch. It's right there. You can see it here. You can feel it on your body. You've got the manubrium, which is the bow tie. You've got the body of the sternum, which is this long skinny part. And at the very end, sticking down, is the xiphoid process. That sits right over the diaphragm. And so if somebody hits you in the xiphoid process, you can oftentimes, it'll shock the diaphragm and you kind of lose the ability to breathe for a few seconds. But all 3 parts, the xiphoid process, the body, and the manubrium, are different pieces of the sternum. We also have the clavicle. Oops. For the ribs, we have true ribs and false ribs. The true ribs are the first 7 ribs. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All of these ribs attach directly to the sternum. Ribs 8, 9, and 10, these 3 right here, you can see they only attach to the costa, or the cartilage, of rib 7. So they're considered false ribs. We also have 2 more false ribs, rib 11 and rib 12. Both of those are floating ribs. So we have 7 true ribs that directly attach to the sternum. We have 5 false ribs that do not directly attach to the sternum. Of those 5, 3 of them do attach to rib 7, and 2 of them are floating that are down here, kind of in the back. That's it for the Axial Skeleton II. Come on back next week and we'll talk about the appendicular skeleton.